Welcome to Dinar Trend Tracker channel. A significant shift has recently struck the banking system in Iraq, and it might affect millions of individuals who are holding Iraqi dinars around the world. Consider waking up one morning and recognizing the importance. Your funds can change overnight when the central bank has fully altered how money is used. That's precisely what took place today. Additionally, if you have dinars invested in you or commercial connections to Iraq, this information is vital. The Central Bank of Iraq has formally unveiled a new foundation for exchange in 2025. A system intended to increase the currency's adaptable while maintaining its cautious management. Throughout this video, we'll dissect everything. How the new system functions, the reason it's being put into practice, what it implies for daily Iraqis, entrepreneurs, and foreign dinar holders, as well as the elements that will now affect the worth of currency. In the end, you'll completely comprehend what this historic action can indicate for your finances, your business, and the overall economy of Iraq. The Central Bank of Iraq earlier today formally declared that they are making the switch from the previous fixed exchange rate framework to a recently created controlled floating framework. For many years, Iraq maintained its ties to the United States dollar at a predetermined rate, which implies that the value of currencies remained constant, irrespective of economic or commercial forces changes. This system of set rates was meant to establish stability, but frequently made the economy susceptible to outside pressures like variations in oil, inflation or pricing. In light of this new oversaw the floating system, the restaurant will still be closely watched, but its value will now change according to supply and the state of demand. This is a massive change since it permits more adaptability without sacrificing safety net by means of central bank action. In essence, Iraq is providing the money space to breathe without going overboard. Volatility. Additionally, this might be a game share for residents of the area as well as foreign financiers. Consider the outdated system, similar to a car's cruise control. The speed remained constant regardless of road conditions or traffic. Presently, the central bank has stepped back from added a more advanced cruise control system of dynamic control. This indicates that the dinars can shift slightly upward or downward depending on market dynamics. However, the bank will take action if the modifications are too extreme. The objective is to establish a realistic, well-balanced approach to currency value that is similar to economic circumstances. More precisely, regarding Iraqis citizens, this may entail observing minor shifts in bank exchange rates and offices of exchange almost every day instead at the same pace each and every day. It also illustrates Iraq's modernization efforts, its financial system and its economy, as well as monetary systems. By embracing this strategy, Iraq is adhering to the actions of other nations that have effectively made use of managed floating exchange rates to increase and stabilize their long-term economic conditions. Thus, why did Iraq take this daring action? The economic pressure is the short explanation. The The nation has experienced numerous financial difficulties, such as diminishing oil prices that continue to be its primary source of income. In addition, inflation has led to an increase in living expenses. Consistency and the significant usage of US dollars has decreased for local purchases. Domestic demand for the Iraqi dinar. Together, these elements produced an urgent reform is required. By utilizing a controlled floating system, the bank wants to develop a more practical value for the eatery, while assisting expansion of the home economy. The system is created to strike a balance between adaptability and control, assisting companies and customers and financiers alike traverse the shifting economic conditions. This action is basically Iraq's attempt to improve the currency's representation of actual market circumstances and worldwide financial facts. The new system will function as follows. In actuality, the value of the dinar will vary according to supply and demand. Nevertheless, the central bank will intervene to avoid abrupt increases or decreases. The bank has put in place intervention bands, permitting the dinar to rise or fall by from a central benchmark rate of about 2%. If the value of the currency begins to rise above these boundaries, the central bank will take purchasing action. If the dinar increases excessively quickly, or selling dollars in the event that it drops too rapidly. As a result, there is regulated flexibility. It lessens the likelihood of market panic and guarantees stability. In doing so, the bank can react to abrupt changes while preserving general economic optimism. For regular people, this technique could feel strange at first, but eventually it might promote stability and local funding and create Iraqi more competitive products abroad. For Iraqis, the impact will be apparent, but controllable. In the near future, pricing may rise for imported goods if the dinar is a little weaker, but local products might become more reasonably priced for foreign purchasers. This could motivate local manufacturing, create jobs, and aid in the expansion of small enterprises. People will see that bank exchange as well. Rates are updated more regularly, reflecting changes in the market in real time. Although, at first, this may sound daunting. Additionally, it offers a more clear monetary system. The central bank is conscious of these issues and has announced educational initiatives to assist. People are aware of the changes. Media, workshops, and internet resources. Campaigns to instruct the general public on how to handle their money in this new setting, encouraging financial literacy around the country. Companies in Iraq will encounter a variety of opportunities. Significant difficulties in the new system. Businesses that export could profit if, due to their products, the dinar becomes weaker. Will become more affordable and appealing to purchasers abroad. This might enhance exports, raise income, and bolster the economy. But companies that depend on imports may incur greater expenses since they will require to buy the same quantity, more dinars, of imports. Consequently, strategic preparing and managing currency risk will become crucial for businesses working in Iraq. Numerous companies are currently investigating forward contracts and hedging tactics and collaborations with financial institutions to lessen any dangers This change would also encourage Iraqi businesses to increase sophistication in finance, getting them ready for future development and worldwide rivalry. DAR holders from other countries face a greater complicated situation. Numerous people. Iraqi dinars have been held all over the world. Years in the hopes of a dramatic rise in worth. Using the updated system, no spike is assured. Rather, the performance of the currency will rely on about the state of the Iraqi economy, oil prices, global market and political stability. Circumstances. If the economy of Iraq strengthens, the value of the dinar might increase. However, if difficulties continue, it might deteriorate. This is a big shift, since speculative profits are anticipated to less dependable now. Dinar holders are required to observe economic reports and oil market patterns, as well as political changes to measure the value of the currency. Guidance. To put it briefly, close observation and strategic planning will be essential. Anyone with an interest in the Iraqi dinar. In the new system, the price of oil is still the single most important element influencing the eatery. Iraq is largely dependent on oil exports to generate income for the government, which indicates that rising oil costs lead to greater inflows of US dollars and rising demand for dinars. On the other hand, falling oil prices deplete foreign exchange balances. This might make the dinar weaker. Political stability is also very important. When Iraq's government remains stable, with safe surroundings, investors benefit. Self-assurance, bringing more foreign investing and bolstering the money. But political unpredictability can lead to investors withdrawing their funds, applying pressure to the dinar from below. The central bank must exercise caution. Keep an eye on both domestic and foreign elements to preserve a flexible, balanced system of currencies. Rates of inflation are a further significant factor in the new structure. If Iraq's inflation rate increases more quickly than in other nations, the dinar might get weaker to keep things balanced in the global marketplace. On the other hand, regulated inflation promotes a more robust money. For that reason, the central banks' monetary policy are essential in the context of controlled floating system. Their capacity to change, intervene in the market, interest rates and control liquidity will have a direct impact on the dinar's stability. Both investors and citizens will gain from open, consistent reporting and communication on developments in inflation, as this will be beneficial. Everyone makes well-informed choices with relation to saving, spending, and making investments. Trade connections outside of the US is essential as well. Iraq carries done commerce with numerous nations. Significant changes in the patterns of commerce could affect the value of the dinar. 4. For example, expanding trade with countries that don't utilize the US dollar as their primary currency might have an impact on foreign exchange inflows and change the dinar's demand. The intervention framework of the central bank enables them to keep an eye on these trends, then make any required adjustments, guaranteeing the value of the currency stays constant. This is a proactive action to protect the economy from unexpected shocks. Nations such as Egypt and Thailand have effectively made use of managed floating mechanisms to keep their economy stable. This method was implemented in Thailand following the 1990s currency crisis, assisting restore its economy and reclaim stability. Egypt has additionally profited from a comparable structure that assisted in managing foreign exchange and inflation difficulties. Iraq is using a tried and true route, but still needs to negotiate a distinct domestic circumstances, such as political instability, reliance on petroleum, and a evolving financial system. If controlled with caution, Iraq might accomplish comparable accomplishments, building a more robust economy, as well as a currency that appropriately depicts the state of the market. For regular Iraqis, this shift may have advantages for oneself. Local companies may perceive fresh chances for development, more affordable prices, as well as more choices for employment. People can using the more flexible system to create well-informed financial choices, possibly investing or saving more prudently. Initiatives for education by the central bank wants to increase financial literacy initiatives for adults and schools, educating the public about the market forces, the value of currency, and methods for investing. With time, these efforts could improve domestic consumption, promote financial stability, and encourage a financial culture. Accountability. If Iraqis are in your possession dinars, you should stay now. Don't panic, be informed. Observe the exchange rates, keep up with economic news from Iraq, and keep an eye on the oil costs, the state of politics, and data about inflation. The secret is diversification. Don't depend on the dinar alone to maintain wealth. For those who are commercial dealings with Iraq, take financial instruments for hedging, such as forward contracts, to mitigate currency risk and collaborate with banks with currency handling expertise. Variations. Planning strategically and making well-informed decisions will be essential to getting around the new exchange system effectively. Additionally, the central bank has highlighted openness and dialogue. The exchange rate per day. Publishing a definite intervention rules, as well as a warning mechanism for unusual market action will be beneficial. Companies and citizens expect changes instead of a mindless reaction. This strategy shows Iraq's dedication to steadiness and reduces frantic actions that might interfere with the economy. The aggressive actions of the central bank. A communication plan is essential. A component of the updated framework, guaranteeing the information is available to everyone. They must decide on financial matters prudently. In the future, the upcoming months will demonstrate the effectiveness of Iraq's the updated system. Small changes could be created to address prohibitions, regulations, or rules as the bank acquires expertise with the marketplace. Global organizations will be keenly observing, giving advice and comments. Oil marketplaces, political events, and the state of the world economy will continue to influence the direction of the dinar. 4. Both citizens and investors, remaining knowledge and flexibility will be essential in order to navigate this new phase of Iraq's system of currencies. Finally, the achievement of this new platform for trade will Rely on the political stability of Iraq. Diversification of the economy outside of oil and the capacity of the central bank to oversee the money with caution. Worldwide circumstances will be involved as well, although the foundation has been established for a more system that is contemporary, adaptable, and transparent. For Iraqi individuals, companies, and foreign financiers, this is an chance to take part in a more robust economy. By accepting this shift and making well-informed choices, the possibility advantages could be significant in the long term. There you have it, then. Iraq's the central bank formally started oversaw the dinar's floating system. A system that strikes a balance between adaptability and steadiness and seeks to update the economy. Short-term adjustments are, as anticipated, the long-term objective is a more robust and competitive currency that represents the actual economic situation of Iraq. If you have dinars in your possession, operating a company, or simply monitoring news about world currencies, here is a development that you can't overlook. Keep yourself updated, be proactive, and maintain keeping a careful eye on the issue. If this breakdown was useful, please share. Give the video a like and subscribe to Iraq EWS, and press the alert button for additional updates. Tell us in the remarks. Do you believe that the new system in Iraq will make the dinar stronger, or are there dangers to come? It appears that you've supplied a complete video transcript talking about the Iraqi dinar, IQD, and being traded in 2025 by international banks, which you consider it to be a significant financial landmark. I'll revise your screenplay while keeping the initial length and the main ideas of every paragraph, concentrating on a more understandable, interesting, and brief tone as asked by your directions. The Iraqi dinar is worth worldwide, a 2025 financial benchmark. Hold on, halt everything. The commotion, the conjecture, the years of discussion, it's over. International banks are formally exchanging Iraqi dinars. This isn't a drill. This financial milestone. Actuality in 2025. We are discussing more than rumors from online forums. We're observing real-world transactions within the major financial institutions' primary trading systems. Organizations and platforms that deal with billions every day. Many people considered this moment would never come, but it has now. Changing the economic environment appropriately. In front of our eyes. We are delving deeply to examine the implications of this recent event. For everyone, including international investors and Iraq, who has tracked the dinar's path from a limited local resource to a internationally renowned player. At the conclusion, you'll see why this is quiet. Integration might completely rebuild the financial future of the Middle East and could impact the upcoming chapter of global commerce. The Iraqi dinar for more than 20 years was a currency with restrictions, mostly restricted inside the boundaries of Iraq and essentially shut off by the majority of global banking networks. Worldwide, banks just refused to deal with it. You couldn't swap your US cash with ease, or euros at a regular bank for dinars. Branch. Getting it required navigating Particular vendors or internet marketplace. Services, frequently involving hefty purchase. Sell questionable assurances and spreads. However, that chapter of restriction is now swiftly coming to an end. Over the last few months, significant European and financial institutions in Asia have started the Iraqi Dinar's incorporation into their FX trading platforms for foreign exchange. It appears next to the benchmark currencies such as the euro, the US dollar, and the yen in Japan. This is not an try it out. These trading pairs are active, continuously monitored, confirmed, and dealing on reputable international platforms for finance. For a country that has worked diligently to stabilize its institutions and restore its economy, undoubtedly, this development is among the most significant and encouraging turning points in the contemporary financial history of Iraq. Thus, why is this addition so significant? Bargain? Due to the fact of being traded by international banks as a comprehensive gamer. A movement of restricted currency is restricted, and its worth is frequently controlled, which means it is unable to gain from natural open market price discovery or actual gain. Liquidity. After banks are free to trade a currency, it joins the open market right away. Worldwide finance industry. This grants businesses, foreign investors, sometimes even other governments legitimate access via recognized financial systems. This unexpected increase in the direct result of accessibility is increased visibility, trust, and tangible real-world demand. Think about it this way. The dinar was in a state of financial captivity. Those bars are now deteriorating, and they might collapse soon. Completely. When money turns into traded internationally, their marketplaces see exponential growth, which usually results in increased stability, deeper fluidity as well as a propensity to long-term growth in value. The Iraqi dinar is approaching this crucial phase currently, and the procedure is accelerating more quickly than most experts had predicted. Let's determine the factors behind this amazing change. As stated by fresh information examined from late 2024 and early 2025, the first financial institutions to make this move were numerous massive European establishments, especially those with established connections with Iraq via oil commerce or the rebuilding of infrastructure. Asian establishments swiftly adopted suit, particularly international banks that have considerable investment in the Middle Eastern building, energy, and logistics industries. These monetary behemoths didn't just make the decision at random to accept the dinar, including a new currency into trading systems requirements. Months or even years of painstaking planning, obtaining regulatory clearance, and integration of technology. This means that the groundwork for this shift has been taking place in the background in silence. The scenes for a significant period. Consequently, this quiet preparation is now visible, manifesting following the inclusion of the Iraqi dinar on the similar international marketplaces that deal with the biggest money in the world. What certain elements made this timing? Now is it possible? A combination of multiple important components came together. Initially, the economy of Iraq is more robust than it has been for decades. oil production and the level of exports is consistently high, guaranteeing steady government income. Second, internal banking reforms in Iraq have effectively updated its financial systems, resulting in cross-border transactions that are more in line with transparent and up to international norms. Third, a number of penalties and limitations that previously prohibited international banks from handling the dinar has been relaxed or eliminated entirely. Raised. Upon combining this with a increasing volume of foreign investment into the facilities in Iraq, you have the excellent trigger for financial integration. International banks took note of this strong momentum and ascertained the time was right. Additionally, when big banks move, they take measured risks, not gamlas. Their behavior implies strong belief in both Iraq's stability for the long run and the dinar's future value potential. But let's be completely explicit. This is not an occurrence that took place overnight. The process of incorporating a currency for international trade is not the same as flipping a light switch. First, banks need to set up safe connections with the central bank, put strict AML mechanisms that prevent money laundering, and teach their staff how to manage a currency that was previously banned. There are different legal systems, trading boundaries and risk mitigation measures that need to be meticulously built prior to the first transaction is ever carried out. The reality that we are seeing real life these days, trade activity indicates these important preparations have already been completed. For many years, this important work was carried out in the background in silence. It is already becoming apparent, and that reveals anything important. Now, major international financial organizations consider the Iraqi dinar to be low-risk asset for speculation, but as a valid, lasting component of the future of global commerce. Let's investigate now the usual series of actions that follows a currency's globalization. Exchanged. There are typically three main results happen. The exchange rate comes first. Stabilizes. A rise in liquidity smooths out of the market, lowering volatile peaks as well as lows. Second, an increase in trade volumes, showing an expanding daily pool of purchasers and vendors, which makes price and fosters self-assurance. Thirdly, usually, the value of the currency increases over time, accelerated gradually, not drastically, by actual economic basics. In regards to the Iraqi dinar, we are already witnessing the first indications of all three. The volume of trading has increased. There is less volatility now, and the bid-ask spreads. The distinction between purchasing as well as the selling price has decreased. This one important indicator is a technical signal that the customer is being handled like a trustworthy and liquid asset. It's no longer only the national currency of Iraq. It is starting to take an active part in the worldwide market. However, this is where a lot of people have frequently misinterpreted the main plot. For years, a certain investing group held fast to the notion that an overnight reassessment, the notion that the dinar would abruptly and unilaterally increase in value, generating immediate wealth for those who possess it. This really isn't How contemporary currency markets operate. Work. Actually, reassessments of that dramatic qualities are almost never heard of. What we're seeing. Instead, there's something much more long-lasting and important. A stable, natural rise in accessibility worldwide. And faith. A currency's earning potential. Trustworthiness gradually, it's an enduring foundation becomes indestructible. This marks the precise start of that travel for Iraq. Rather than conjecture. Determining its cost, the labor-intensive. Currently, international investment, actual commerce, and demonstrated economic development. This kind of, although it takes longer, sustainable growth is precisely what significant large-scale investors would rather see. Let's concentrate on the economic force behind this enormous change. The oil industry in Iraq continues to be the main source of fuel for the sources of income for the country. However, there is a clear and increasing pressure to diversify the economy outside of energy. New initiatives in agriculture, manufacturing, and the use of digital technologies is rapidly forming. Global businesses are launching regional activities and cooperative collaborations. The more effectively Iraq broadens its economic foundation, the more robust the case turns into a completely currency that is readily exchanged and convertible. Companies need dependable, effective ways to compensate contractors, employees, and international suppliers. This necessity is the reason why international banks are currently taking action to satisfy this requirement. By incorporating dinar into their central trade platforms, they are efficiently opening the door to a more approachable and Iraq's economy is open. The textbook is this one method through which countries change from limited players to those who were esteemed in the intricate realm of international finance. To completely understand the scope of this, right now, you have to think about Iraq's beginning point. Following dispute and prolonged sanctions, the financial system was completely cut off. There was a lack of confidence and inflation was a severe worry, and not many outside institutions were open to participating. However, now have a look at the trajectory. Constant financial reserves and strict supervision from the Iraqi Central Bank, and greatly increased transparency. Gradually, a sequence of careful trust has been successfully restored by reforms. Each additional legislation, regardless of whether it was strengthening financial control, integrating online banking services, by raising the bar for compliance, has moved Iraq nearer to its present place at the absolute edge of the global monetary acknowledgement. The dinar's enrollment in a major bank trading systems aren't only financial headline. It is the straightforward, concrete outcome of years of consistent tenacity and careful reform. Here is something that the majority of people don't acknowledge. When banks start to trade money, it encompasses far more than merely purchasing and selling. It is mostly concerned with long-term confidence, reputation, and anticipation. Banks don't invest important resources to establishing trading platforms for currencies that they believe will collapse. They do it in exchange for currency, are certain that it will grow more fluid, become more resilient and fully integrate into the world economy. Consequently, the core This message is clear-cut. Major international financial organizations are putting a calculated, well-considered wager on the durability of dinars in the future and Iraq's boosting stability. They're not following the buzz in the media. Are you making investments in visible documentation? Advancement. This one action makes clear more regarding the future of the currency than any speculation or rumor that has ever could. Let's start this conversation more in line with its actual meaning for people, particularly those who have dinars at the moment. Enhanced trading internationally makes things easier. Availability, more trustworthy conversions, and higher prices. Companies that communicate the ROC will gain from quicker, more seamless interactions. Investors are going to take advantage of more openness and decreased danger. Furthermore, crucially, over an extended term, as the demand for the dinar continues to, its potential worth rises in tandem. But this has never been and never will be a tale of getting money rapidly. It's a lengthy, significant change in the economy. Those who completely understand this basic distinction, deciding to exercise patience and reasonable anticipations regarding immediate, will be the ones who perform miracles, ultimately gain the most. In concrete terms, a number of European banks are currently providing dinar exchange straight services to their business customers. The key financial centers in Asia include listing the dinar on their online marketplace boards. Certain establishments are even examining investments denominated in dinars, accounts and products, a change that simply would not have been possible a few years back. Each of these actions that expand the currency's reach in the field of international finance. Additionally, when this happens, the more difficult it is to in reverse. This is the financial what legitimacy looks like. The dinar isn't not a fringe currency anymore. It is actively gaining a place at the international table. We have to be practical now. No money journey is complete. Let's talk about one last important point. False information. When currencies such as the dinar gain such publicity, the unavoidable gossip come out. Covert government transactions, concealed reassessments or sudden windfalls. However, this is the real deal. What is happening at the moment makes sense. Clear and fully observable. There is no ulterior motive here. It's the unavoidable and natural result of the market development and years of ingrained change. The banks are not taking any action regarding speculative hype or hearsay. They're acting on info that can be verified. They're recognizing stability, opportunity, and expansion. Additionally, they are strategically putting themselves in a position beforehand. This is strategy rather than deceit. The more profound how well you comprehend this procedure, you'll notice more clearly that the ascent of dinar is based solely on strong, observable progress. Thus, what is the next stage? As more economical, the dinar is incorporated into the trade platforms, will probably observe increasing North American participation. American establishments and the larger international integration of finances. With time, this might result in direct monetary exchanges. complete worldwide convertibility, and much simpler access for foreign financiers. If Iraq keeps strengthening its economy, the long-term value of dinar will unavoidably represent that steady growth.